Back to open session. Little somber occasion here. As all of you know, several of our Global High students were involved in a car accident over the weekend, which resulted in one student's death and the serious injury of several others. Please join me in a moment of silence as we remember the life lost and pray for the students who are recovering, as well as their families, friends, and teachers. Father, we'd like to take this time to ask your blessings upon the students and their friends, their family members, their teachers, employees of the district, the first responders that were anyway connected into this terrible tragedy, and ask that you wrap your arms around these people and lift them up and just help them as best we can. We know there's no easy way around it. At the same time, Father, we also ask you to bless the school district and all involved from top to bottom as we begin a new school year this week and just try to move forward the best we can. We thank you for all these blessings that you give us and ask that you keep us in your service. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
This time, Ms. Timmerman will lead us in our pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
I don't believe we have anybody signed up to speak during our open forum. Okay. So we're going to move on to human resources. Yeah, I know. Let's start that way.
Good afternoon, Board.
Thank you, sir.
I would like to ask that you approve consideration for approval of the 2021-2022 compensation plan.
Motion to approve.
Ms. James, I have a question about the compensation plan, I believe. Okay, when we're looking at the compensation plan, it was unclear to me because it's a new salary schedule. So did every professional employee receive 2% and every auxiliary employee receive 5%? Is that correct?
They will.
They will. Okay, so it is, their salaries have been adjusted.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
I believe it's been moved by Ms. Starnader.
I have a couple questions,
Okay,
too.
sorry.
The custodians, they've moved to pay grade 2,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, which raises them up even
To $12 an hour.
for the
Plus.
minimum. Okay. And also, what did this raise specifically do for our administrators?
While the administrators, from the TASB plan, there were some adjustments for some of the administrators. Some didn't. It depended on where they were on the scale. And then, and they will be included in the 2% increase.
Do you know if this increase has made us more competitive with the districts around?
It will bring us closer to being competitive. Yes.
Okay.
So do you know how close we are to being competitive?
Well, we're trying to get a line.
I think-
the cost.
But let-
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Good grief, this is a lot of feedback. I guess because Dusty's not here. Actually, I'm very pleased to hear the board ask these questions because I had mentioned it when we were talking about the budget, and because there wasn't a sense of urgency, we just put them with everyone else. But I would strongly encourage us to look at that because you two are absolutely spot on. We have got some administrators that we need to be competitive, as competitive we are with teachers, because to lose the administrators we have would just be a tragedy. So please give us some direction. I mean, or just give us a percent.
Yeah.
4% for administrators?
No, I mean, usually you present the budget. I mean, this is what's budgeted. We're just asking.
Well, but we budgeted according to what the board said, indicated
Right,
to us when Mr. Calden and I were making those presentations. Mr. Calden, you look perched to say
Well,
something.
the only thing I would say is that at this point, with us already posting the proposed budget, it's a little late for any additional increases for the upcoming school year. That is, as Dr. Kane was saying, that's something that definitely should be explored and looked at, but those considerations really would be for the next fiscal year, so the 22-23 budget at this point.
But could we make a note, just because it's a year away, that this was something that we need to really focus on next year and
Absolutely.
kind of take care of early before we build the budget?
And the data that we worked from is also a year old. So, like I said, we're closer to where we were before, closer than we were before.
Ms. James, I know we paid for the whole report that time, but sometimes, like with the demographer, it's expensive that first time, but to update it, it's not that much. Would it cost that much to have that part updated? Not just administrator salary, but all salaries, because they're all over 2 years old now, or they will be by
Yeah, they
then.
can go back and do that.
And it wouldn't
make
cost
some
as much?
adjustments. I can't tell you what the cost is, but it won't be quite as much as it
Okay.
was this time.
I'll leave a note for Dr. Hollingsworth.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Collin, thank you. Like Dr. Kane said, it would be a shame if we lost some of our good administrators because of the pay. But this is kind of deja vu from last year when we were talking about custodians, and you said exactly the same thing. And look what we did for custodians. So I know you jotted this down and you're going to remember.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
thank you.
We'll work on it.
Okay. I would like for you to ask you to approve the T-test appraisers list that you received.
Ms. James, at this point, we have a motion from Ms. Starnader.
Fixing to jump in there. We have a motion from Ms. Starner. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Rogers. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Record show the motion carries 6-0. Autry absent.
Okay, I'll continue on. I ask that you approve consideration for the T-test appraisers list that we have presented.
I'll second.
Moved by Mrs. Timmerman, seconded by Ms. Kriegel. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? This will carry also 6-0. So what'd you think? Well, they were both saying.
Okay. I would like to ask that you approve the updated stipend list that we presented.
Ms. James, I had a question about that. I guess a little confused with your notes. So extra days, I'm looking at extra days and they're highlighted and they're saying that like the baseball has 5 extra days, soccer has 5 extra days, and then also track 3. Okay, so looking back over here, it says we'll be receiving 3 to 5 extra days paid at $150 per day. So are they going to receive an additional stipend of $150 a day?
For
Or is
those
that
days.
for each of those days? Okay, that's what and that's across the board. So everybody will be receiving the additional stipend for the number of days.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Okay, all right, thank you.
We have item C up for our consideration.
Motion.
Oh, I did have one more question. Sorry. So I'm looking at the second page, and it has like the family, the facility gate attendant, and the range is from $60 to $100 a day. Can you clarify what that's for? I mean, is it
The
for the?
facilities,
I mean, I understand what the position is, but there's a big range as far as what people are going to be
It
paid.
would be like if it's a junior high game, a junior high B game versus a high school.
Well, but no, it has $60 to $100 on the facility gate attendant for varsity, but you know, I mean, will Joe get $60 and Sue get 100? You know, I mean, how do you, what's the
The
clarification?
scale, I do not have, I just have the ranges. It depends on what they do. And Greg Reed determines whatever it is their assignment is during that time. Sometimes it's in the stands, sometimes it's somewhere else, wherever it is. Some of those assignments will be a little bit higher than other assignments. I don't have the scale of which is which, but
Duties. And there's also a difference in a game that's a playoff game and the place is packed, and a game at the first of the year that's really a scrimmage.
Right, I totally understand that, but the range.
Well, that's what I mean. It'd be at the bottom of the
They're-
range.
They're clarified on this, Dr. Kane. I mean, it's just, I mean, like,
Well, maybe I'm not understanding your question.
varsity and then playoff, there's two different categories, but the range,
But even in a varsity game, there's differences in the crowd. Some varsity games are well-attended and maybe thought that the crowd control would be more difficult.
no,
We could get,
I mean, I'm just.
I have Greg make a
Ms. Kriegel,
presentation.
It's just
the
a-
ranges generally have to deal with, especially playoff games. If we're hosting a 1A school, a whole lot less is involved versus a 5A school.
Okay.
And so those ranges generally are for the size of crowd that we are expecting for those games.
Okay, that's what I'm asking. I mean, you know, because it's strange. I mean, I don't want to see Joe being paid, you know, a certain amount, but another person not being paid, you know, I want it to be equitable in that manner. Thank you. Thank you.
Back to letter C.
Second.
Second from Mrs. Kriegel. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
okay, Board, I would like to also ask that you approve the consideration of the actions for the request for new positions that were presented.
Could you share with us those, just for the audience?
Share with you the positions.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We were asking for 18 positions for an interventionist, an aid interventionist to use with the ESSER funds. And I think Lisa can tell you more about what their responsibilities will be, but it's for that. And then we're asking for positions that have to do with using student workers for both custodial and maintenance. And then we're asking for a campus-based sub with, for our daycare.
Adjunct teachers.
I'm sorry, and the adjunct, I didn't bring that up, but the adjunct teachers for global. Okay. Okay.
I'm going to address my question to you. The 18 instructional aid interventionists, am I assuming that they're going to work one-on-one or one-on-two with students that have fallen behind?
Right, so this is in relation to the House Bill 4545 and students needing 30 hours of intervention instruction.
Okay.
So the best way to intervene with kids is not with more resources or materials, but with face-to-face with an adult.
Exactly.
So we can use these positions to either do the face-to-face interventions with students in that small group, or we can have them do an activity or lesson with our whole group classroom and our certified teacher do the small group intervention. It's really up to campus principals how they want to utilize these positions, but it's about 2 positions per campus, depending on the number of intervention students that we have there and the population of the campus.
Okay, thank you
Uh-huh.
very much, Ms. Mott.
Further discussion?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Hutchins, seconded by all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Will also carry 6-0.
Thank you.
James. Going to move to the recognitions portions of our program. like we have a full house. If anybody outside wants to come in, I'd express to them now's the time.
And you'd be taking this time.
We are so excited this evening. We have 4 graduates who are going to receive their diplomas tonight.
I don't think they get That's over.
Don't need those, do they?
Okay, we're gonna let them get ready real quick. So we will do our employee recognition. Mr. O'Daniel, are you ready to do that? And Mr. Sines, come on up. Yeah.
So we're awarding Brian Kraus today for outstanding service to students, staff, and colleagues. Anybody that knows Brian knows that he's a hard worker, and for some reason he agreed to take on more responsibilities. We're not quite sure why yet. But Brian has been with the district for 4 years now, and we're proud to have him. He's actually assumed some of our network administrative duties. Do what? Okay.
We're getting a little bit closer to the mic. Yes, we want to honor this man. If you're picking him out to be the guy, then it must be.
So we're honoring Brian Kraus today for outstanding service to students, staff, and colleagues. And anybody that knows Brian has been with the district for 4 years now. He's agreed to take on more responsibility than he already has taken on, which is great for us because there's a lot of work that needs to be done in technology. It's a never-ending story. And actually wanted Eli to speak a little bit if you had something to say about Brian.
Just to reiterate what Joe was speaking of, Brian he's always been willing and ready to take additional responsibilities. He's a great addition to our team. He's always been willing and to help our staff and students as well. We appreciate and what he brings to the team, his contributions he brings not only to us, but to the district and to students and staff, and that's the most important part of what we do, and we appreciate what he does for us. Thank you, Brian.
Open public hearing. Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Now we are ready to start with our graduates.
Dr. Kane and School Board, Dr. Averett, I would like to honor some graduates. 4 of our Waxahachie High School seniors completed their graduation requirements this summer, and I would like to honor them this evening and award them their diplomas. I certify that they have met all the requirements outlined by the Waxahachie School Board and by TEA, and I would like to award them their diplomas this evening.
Detarian Demond Johnson. Zakarian Shamar Harris Sargent. Alberto Eliodoro Alanis Guana. Mario Alberto Alanis Guana.
Tell me who you are. Who's your dad or mom? I'm sorry. So that's what I said. Congratulations.
Oh my goodness. Beauty. Hi, Christian. Thank you for coming. have one more recognition this evening. Linda Solis, our Director of Bilingual and ESL Services, will be doing that recognition.
Get myself together here. Dr. Kane, Board of Trustees, I don't know if you want to wait just a little bit. Okay. You're almost taller than I am. Is he taller than I am? Congratulations. You're welcome. It's exciting when you get to graduate, right? Even if it's a little delayed, it's exciting. Good afternoon, Dr. Kane and Board of Trustees. I'm excited to shine some light on our dual language program tonight. Excited for Christian Pettis here. He was a 5th grade student at Wedgeworth Elementary, going to be a 6th grader at Coleman Elementary. He placed first place at the Region 10 Spanish Spelling Bee, and he was also made it to nationals. That's one. He made it to the National Spelling Bee, and out of the 16, he placed 8th. So he lost on the word, let me see if I can even say it, reivindicativo? Okay, that one, which means vindictive. So he vindicated. He's going to go back and get vindicated for this. So very hard word. He did an outstanding job, but I do want to honor his parents. His parents, David and Rosa Perez, were here tonight too. So. Also his teachers and his campus, Mr. Day at Wedgeworth, his teacher, Rosalba Valentage, Ermelinda Diestado, and they're not here. Ginger Alamon was his coach, and Ellen Green and Rosalba Valentage. So we're excited for Christian, so congratulations to Christian, and he got his medal and a certificate just in time for us to give it to him tonight. So.
Thank you, Board.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Schofield. Tonight, we're presenting the first review of Update 117. That is TASB's most recent prescribed update for local policies and legal policies. They have not yet, TASB has not yet incorporated all of the changes from the 2021 legislature. So we are anticipating receiving update 118 later this fall for additional action. This update is relatively short. There are only 3 local policies affected. That's CV and CH, and those are purchasing policies to make purchasing a little bit easier in the time of an emergency or crisis. It's to respond to the winter shutdown that occurred this spring, in addition to COVID shutdowns. It was some legislative attempt to help school districts be able to make take purchasing action during times of emergency. The other change is DEC local. and that's our leave policy. A lot of things are coming out of board policy and being put into administrative guidelines so that school districts can be a little bit more flexible should changes need to be made. So tonight is just first review. There's no action for you. It's just an opportunity to look at those local policies that are recommended for change and the legal policies, which are just updated recitations of some statute and code provisions and some case law, but it's not the lion's share of changes from the 2021 legislature. We will get those in Update 118. So if you have any questions, I can answer some tonight, or because we're not taking action, we could save those questions throughout the month of August. We anticipate bringing this back for action when the board meets at the end of the month. For the budget hearing, we will go ahead and implement the changes of 117. Again, they're relatively few changes to actual local policy. The legal changes just happen regardless of what the board does. We just give you notice that those things are happening.
Any questions for Mr. Alvenshaw?
Thank you all very much.
We had a speaker at the last meeting, and our speaker had some concerns about the substitute and was very articulate in expressing those. After the meeting, one of our board members said, you know, could we see some charts and graphs, and what is there a recommendation? So actually, everything's in your packet. Ms. James may be ready to make a presentation, but I feel like these charts are self-explanatory, but if they're not, let us know. And then, of course, anytime the administration makes a recommendation, that's our job to make a recommendation to the board. So,
no, in response to the guest speaker last month, I thought it was appropriate to verbalize and even demonstrate how we compare to neighboring districts. And it appears that we are personally within my tolerance anyway, without making any changes. I trust if we see a huge problem with getting subs or needing to adjust the dollar amount, then we can possibly revisit that.
right, and that's what we'll do. We'll look at the fill rate, and if the fill rate is poor or is getting poor, that would be the time to change. Of course, if money was unlimited, if we didn't have a money crunch, we would love to pay our substitute more, but it's like the choices the board talked about tonight, you know, custodians, administrative, teachers.
Ms. James, I did have just a couple of simple questions. Okay. Looking at the chart, it looks like we pay, let's just start with paraprofessionals. We pay $65 for a paraprofessional. Now, what if we have a certified person or a degreed person, but they get put into a paraprofessional position? What happens with that?
If they're serving in a paraprofessional position, they will be paid paraprofessional substitute rate.
Okay, and so our paraprofessional rate, it looks like Midlothian does pay more than us on the short term and on the long term on paraprofessional. Now, one thing that I really don't understand is the non-certified. That, you know, it says non-certified, degreed, and teacher certified.
Mm-hmm.
So could you clarify for me what the non-certified, what that means?
That means the person is not certified in any particular area or the area that they're going into to support that classroom.
Okay.
Sometimes we say non-certified in the fact that they may be English, but they're going into a math substitute, so they're not really certified for that math substitute, for that math position.
Okay, and, okay, so, okay, they're not, so that means they're not, so, but then degreed is paid more, so, I guess that's not clear to me, you know.
So the paraprofessional, I'm sorry, is more in reference to the paraprofessionals. So paraprofessionals or classroom aides have to be certified. going into the classroom. All of them are certified. It's mandatory under TEA that they're certified aides.
Okay, they're certified aides. Okay, that's where I was not clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so degreed, we just pay $85. Okay, so we pay $85 for a degreed person if they're not certified?
Yes.
Teacher certified?
Double check my rate here. For non-certified teachers, yes. They get a little bit more. They get $85.
Okay. Okay, so, okay, let me track. Okay, so a teacher certified gets $85, and a degreed person also gets $85, is that correct?
Well, it depends. We just have one area for us. Now, some of the other districts actually have degreed, non-degreed,
Okay,
okay? But for us as a district, we have the non-certified teacher, the certified teacher. We don't differentiate between whether or not, if they're non-certified, whether or not they have a bachelor's or not. They're just degreed.
okay. I guess my concern is, I know last year, in the height of COVID, we had huge numbers that were not filled.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's looking to me that we're not very competitive with Midlothian. And we're competitive with Ennis and Red Oak. And frankly, probably nobody's going to drive very much farther than that. They might drive to Lancaster, from what I'm seeing about their salary, but they're not going to drive, much farther. But I am concerned, this is something we really need to watch, because we do not want to have our substitutes not filled.
Yes,
We need to have plenty of subs. And then also, to just clarify, so after 10 days in one position, it goes to long-term. Is that
Long-term.
correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
James? Okay, letter C, our COVID-19 update.
Our very own Nurse
The
Bousquet.
original note.
Good evening, Dr. Kane and board. TEA issued some guidance on August 5th for COVID protocols that differed slightly from the June 5th guidance that they issued. So we have revamped our guidance just a little bit from what we originally had posted on the website. So really the main difference is looking at COVID positive cases and then a COVID-like illness. So we put some verbiage in there that designates what a COVID-like illness might be, and we're going to isolate for those issues. And a COVID-like illness is if there is a COVID positive in your home and you are experiencing symptoms, whether or not you have tested, we're going to consider that a COVID-like illness, and we'll isolate you for 10 days for that. Also, if you lose your sense of taste and smell, that's kind of a cardinal COVID sign, even though it's not necessarily fleshing out with this new Delta variant. It's still a pretty unique sign. So any new onset of loss of taste or smell will get you a COVID-like illness designation, and you'll need to isolate for 10 days. Basically, that's the main difference between this August 5th TEA guidance and the June 5th guidance. So do you guys have any questions about it? Anything I can answer for you? I would love to be able to make it easier for you when you get questions from parents and staff, but I'm not sure how to do that, except just encourage anybody that you talk to that WISD is committed to following this very fluid situation closely, and that we're going to make any changes that state and local health authorities suggest that we make. So, any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I think this did happen
I think, wasn't this sent out to parents? I think, wasn't it? I think, was this sent out to parents? I feel like I saw an email.
There was,
Maybe.
On June 5th, correct?
So June 5th, the state gave us new guidance. In July, we sent out our guidelines for the remainder of the summer. So we knew we had band going, we had athletics going, so we sent out guidance for the summer and our anticipated guidance for the fall. So that went out just last week. TEA and DISHES, the State Department of Health, issued new guidance regarding suspected cases of COVID. We were planning to go into the year where the only folks impacted by the 10-day quarantine were going to be those with confirmed cases of COVID, because that's what the guidance was at that time. They've added suspected cases, and so as Nurse Bousquet described, what we're going to define for our campus nurses and campus registrars, what a suspected case will be is if there's a confirmed case in your home and you start exhibiting signs of illness, that's going to be a suspected case of COVID. And if you report that you've lost the taste of smell, the sense of taste or smell, that'll be a suspected case. In the event of a suspected case, you'll have to isolate for 10 days unless you'll go get a negative COVID test and report to us that you're symptom-free for 24 hours. You can actually come back sooner. If you're a confirmed case, you're going to have to stay out for 10 days because that's just the rules and guidance we've been given from TEA and DISHES. But our goal is to have folks in school as much as possible. But that's the change that's on the policy written in front of each one of you at the dais. And this evening or tomorrow, we'll update the website with the new protocols that we have a date now of August 9th. And the reason we've made that change is because that's what the state issued last week.
Does that make sense? Okay. Okay. Any other questions?
Not a question, just a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for making that clear, that we're just following what the state is saying. We're just not pulling it out of the air. Because we're already starting to get emails, especially with Dallas and Houston and with the Delta.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for making that clear.
Thank you. All right.
Calling letter D. Budget update.
Good evening, Board. The majority of your budget update is that 115-page binder that you either picked up from Billy or used to level your table this weekend or have in front of you, whichever is the most appropriate use of it. But we're going to go through a little bit of it right now and then a majority of it at the end of the month when you've had time to look through all of that binder and formulate some questions. So within this budget that's in front of you, we've implemented all the recommended TASB salary adjustments to market. We've also included a pay increase for all staff. That's 5% for auxiliary, 5% for paraprofessionals, a teacher step increase plus adjustments to the pay structure, and 2% for all administrative and professional positions. So this increase would be on top of any salary adjustments to market that TASB had recommended. So there's that stacking of increases that, that I believe you told me back in March, that's what you wanted to see. Don't just stop at TASB, but do something in addition so that all staff gets an increase. We've budgeted some funds to purchase land. The board has recently talked about identifying some land for future sites. We put some money in the budget for that. And we've also got some funds dedicated for an increase into fund balance. That's that $1 million increase that we had talked about originally. Total expenditures, this is what the budget's looking like for next year, $107.5 million in the general fund, and that is a balanced fund presentation for you. The debt service fund at $22.3 million, that is a deficit. It's an anticipated deficit because we're doing some refinancing of bonds that will be saving some future interest costs. So we're going to spend down a little bit of fund balance to enhance those cost savings for taxpayers. And Child Nutrition Fund, a balanced budget of $4.8 million. It's really a little bit misleading on the Child Nutrition Fund because their expenditures are really just limited to the revenue that they're bringing in. So as we get through the course of the year, and as you look through that book, you'll see a comparison to the current year. Their budget started last year at about 4.4 million, and their expenditures are somewhere in that 3.3 million range. Their expenditures align with their budget, and we cut down on some capital outlays at the end of the year if they don't have the funds available. All that to say, the part that I think you'll be most interested in, the tax rate. M&O tax rate last year was 98.15 cents. INS of 38.39, total tax rate of $1.3654. The proposed rate for next year, a reduction of about 2 cents in the INS fund, or the M&O fund, so 0.9603, and interest and sinking stays the same at 38.39. A lowered tax rate of $1.34 and 42 hundred thousandths of a penny. Man, that's fun to say. But overall tax rate, a little bit of a decrease, about 2 cents. So kind of where we are in the timeline. Tonight you're getting the budget book and all of its glory and information. There will be a public hearing to discuss the budget and the proposed tax rate. That'll be on Monday, August 30th at 5 p.m. in the administration boardroom. And then the adopted budget will be implemented effective September 1st. So with that, and I know I've sent you a lot of information in that book. Any questions that we can address or I can address at this point?
I had a question.
Yes, ma'am.
On page 4, where it was talking about payroll cost, and it says that, let's see, payroll costs are estimated to be approximately 91.8 million, which is 85.46% of the general fund, and that they want us to be, you said 80, and we're like a little bit over 85. How do we go about, because you said in the next several fiscal years?
So generally, there's not a real standard on that 80%. That's kind of, if you look at other districts, kind of a TASB recommendation is going to be anywhere from 80 to 85%. 80% gives you more flexibility in terms of responding to needs. If you need to hire additional staff for whatever reason, 85 gets you a little bit less of that flexibility. To specifically answer your question, how do we try to get back closer to 80? We need to be very strategic going forward as we look to add additional staff and additional positions. And so as we go forward, we need to make sure that we're all reading from the same playbook, that we all have the same end goal in mind when we're adding those staff, because it's a whole lot easier, again, to be responsive and flex our budget in areas of need that are temporary when we don't have a whole lot of extra people on the payroll.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Hold on, Clay. On the next page, page 5, as we move more towards an electronic one-to-one district, how significant are our textbook costs? Because I had someone bring up to me about kids that never even take the cellophane off their books, but we still have to provide those, or how does that work?
So I'm going to try to keep this short. We get funds from the state. It's the instructional materials allotment, the IMA funds. We get it every biennium. Let's call it 1.8 million. We will spend every penny of that providing textbooks and materials for our students over that biennium. Within that allotment, the general expectation is TEA is going to go out and the State Board of Education is going to go out and do a proclamation where they approve a listing of certain materials for course subjects. And so when they do that, generally you review what you already have. If it's still in alignment and unchanged, you can continue using it. This process is generally every 8 to 10 years, so it's probably not still in alignment. So you generally refresh those materials every time the proclamation comes out. As we get more online, we may see a move to more digital resources and more computers to support those digital resources. But honestly, I don't know. I know the same frustration in terms of students not touching their workbooks and not touching their materials. I see it as well as a parent when my kids bring their unused resources home at the end of the year. It's not a fun day in the Calden household, but those are the resources that our teachers have told us that that's what they need to be successful, and so we want to give them those opportunities. But it may be a changing landscape as we go forward. As we get more comfortable with one-to-one, you may see fewer and fewer physical materials and more digital materials.
Mr. Calden, where are we on proceeding to one-to-one?
I believe at this point, we're phoning a friend in the back over there, but I believe we're somewhere between 92 and 95% of devices for students. And so we're not fully there.
Help is coming.
Oh, good. Please save me. Pull me out of the chasm.
So this year, for the start of the school year, we're fulfilling from 5th grade up 1-to-1. The lower grades, our promise to start school is to have 5 units per section in all of the elementaries. I'm used to corporate, so I consult a little bit about privacy and all that stuff. So I just wanted to make sure I can say what I'm fixing to say. We have submitted recently a request for 5,750 new machines through the ECF Emergency Connectivity Fund. These machines have a very specific use for them. They have to primarily be used at home. And it can be used at home for our staff or for our students. And with the staff, all the principals, we've talked about it, met about it. We came up with this number that we believe we can get home. Doesn't mean they can't bring them to the school. So we will have an abundance of machines if we're approved. I think it's August 14th is when that approval starts. And we expect it to be approved, and we actually already have those machines reserved, ready to be shipped to us. So hopefully, maybe the end of August, but I would say the end of September, we're going to have an abundance of machines, Chromebooks, that have 3-year warranties, that have break fix, that have accidental repair on them, that we can start sending home to those that need them at home, and they can use them here. That we can use for our 1-to-1 gaps that we have potentially, but we can't actually call it that because its primary use is at home. To make the fulfillment for the rest of them, we'd like to get school started, see where we're at, make the count, see what we're missing, because we're always going to miss something. We're going to have machines that have disappeared. COVID had quite a few machines that still show up from various locations, pawn shops, I mean, you name it, we're seeing them. Police departments calling us, hey, we got this machine that we found. So it's just a continual thing, but there are a lot of computers, a lot of Chromebooks on the way. How we use them is going to be a little tricky, but we're going to have more than enough, at least for the short term. And we can make that fulfillment for our higher grade levels for testing. And that's our biggest concern coming up, is that we have testing that we have to make those fulfillments for, but we think we're in good shape now. But we will probably make a request in the near future for additional machines for 1-to-1 where ECF isn't involved. Did I go too far?
Okay, yes, thank you. Did you, don't think you got away. Okay, so did you say that we're going to have 5 additional units per classroom at the underneath?
5 per section, 5 per classroom in the elementaries, not including the 5th grade. The 5th grade, we have a fulfillment. We're filling those out now for 1-to-1. So 5th and up.
Pre-K 4.
Okay, and so they're going to have an additional 5 units per.
And not you say additional, that would be in addition to what they may already have. Our task is to say you have at least this many for each of those classrooms. So if they have them now, then we're not going to be adding to it. It's just to say that we will promise that we will make that 5 for you.
Okay, and are these brand new units?
No, you wouldn't want to do that, because if the ones we're purchasing, they are brand new units. The ones that are in the district, they're various ages, because we try to age them out in some kind of cycle. If we have all brand new units, then we'll have to replace them all at the same time, basically, and we would never want to do that. We try to spread it out as much as we can so that we have the ability to replace in segments or per year.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Page 8, Mr. Calden, we talk about the fund balance, and to help ensure solid financial position going forward, we should strive to maintain a reserve of at least 3 months operating expenditures. If I read it right, we're right at 2.97, and we made a pledge of, what, $1 million for the next, will that get us to that?
Yes, sir.
Best practice?
Yes, sir.
Else?
Thank you.
Letter E, we have a special meeting reminder?
That'd be me. Yes, we're typically just have one meeting a month, and that's a good record, but this month, because of budget, and it's typical in August, that on the 30th, you will be having a meeting. Mr. Aubenshine actually alluded to the fact that he's going to sneak on his policy 117 on there, but mostly it'll be the Ryan Calden show. But, so it's on the 30th. So don't forget about that meeting. This is just a reminder for that meeting, Mr. Chair. 5 o'clock? We're pretty stuck on 5 o'clock.
And also, we have a special meeting tomorrow.
Yes, at 1:30. We're
Yes,
going
we
to
do.
a coronation.
Yes.
Anybody else? All right, moving along to letter F.
Just like with this special meeting reminder, this is just a reminder to the board because the provision from the legislature is that if administration wanted, it could put in, open the district to homeschoolers. And when you talk to the fine arts leaders and the athletic leaders, in principle, is keeping up with the consequences, the discipline, do you even live in Waxahachie? It's just, we're not to the point that, so we passed on that, but I just wanted you to know, because in case a board member from another district asked, that's not lined out like it should be. They need to put some more restrictions on that and some more guidance if they want people to really sincerely open it up so that there can be some control. Because right now, the rules for our kids would be so different from the rules of the homeschool kids, as far as trying out for the team. And of course, if we said, what are your grades? I'm sure we would get some really good grades from many areas. So this is just a informational item.
Okay, that'll bring us to letter G. Raver, I assume that's you, the student handbook and dress code review?
He's into the dress code. Yeah, he sets the dress standards for the districts with those socks he wears.
So just, thank you. Just real quick on the student handbook, very, very, very small changes, nothing really substantive to the student handbook itself, just names. There were some names of people that no longer work here, so we had to get those things fixed. But the big thing that people like to talk about is dress code. We did make one change that could be significant in the dress code, and we removed the phrase fingertip length and replaced it with mid-thigh. We talked to the principals, the junior high principals and high school principals, and it was their opinion that the fingertip length, I mean, people have different length arms. And so someone may have a very short garment with short arms versus someone who has longer arms and can't find anything long enough to wear or whatever. So anyway, so they removed that and put the phrase mid-thigh in there. So it'd be a more, I guess, slightly subjective, but more fair way to look at it. And someone may ask, well, how do you know? You're obviously a man. What do you know about mid-thigh or fingertip length? But I can assure you I have an 8th grade daughter, and that is a question that we discuss often when we come out before we go to school. You're not wearing that. So anyway, I'm very highly versed in that. Any questions? Because that's really the only thing we made a change of in the student handbook was that little bit of a dress code issue.
Thank you, Dr. Avery.
Yes, sir.
At this time, we're going to move to Section 8, the public hearing. At this time, we will open the public hearing related to an amendment to the Waxahachie ISD District of Innovation Plan. Assistant Superintendent Lisa Mott will present.
I would just ask that we approve the amendment to the District of Innovation Plan. It has been posted for 30 days on the district website. This will allow more flexibility for the district to provide for our health care for our staff. So I just ask that we approve the amendment to the District of Innovation Plan.
Did anyone say?
Can I answer any questions?
Well, I think we need to ask, did anyone say they'd like to speak,
Yes,
other
did
than Ms.
anybody in
Mott?
the public like to speak?
Second chance.
Anybody else? Covering all our bases.
Okay, now,
Now, Ms. Kriegel.
hearing's over.
I am for approving this because this is something that the staff evidently wanted. Do you know what the participation rate in changing plans is looking like?
Well, right now, we are in the middle of sign-up
Yes.
through our benefits, and I don't have any statistical information at this point on how many people have made that change. I know there's been a lot of conversation, a lot of questions about the new plan, but I don't have any specific information. It's still open enrollment period.
Okay, and I understand that until the 15th. But, okay, so I just want to make a statement. I am for this because some of our employees I know wanted this. However, the Senate, I mean, there was a Senate bill passed in the legislative session in June that forbids us from making this plan. We're going to have to look at it again in December of this year and see what our permanent plan is, because next year, next September 1st, we will be forbidden from offering two plans. So we have to tell the state December the 31st if our plan is to move from the TRS plan, and that includes the Blue Cross Blue Shield plan, so it's pretty complicated. But I just wanted to be sure that, you know, that we understand that in December, we're going to have to really have a good look at what we're doing, because, and when you move from the TRS - Blue Cross Blue Shield plan, it's a move for 5 years. And I guess my concern that I expressed last time is because we're going to be in a pool, a smaller pool, and with everything going on with health insurance right now and with the cost of potential COVID costs, frankly, I'm concerned about us being in a smaller pool versus a larger pool. So, I mean, we're really going to have to, in December, know what we're doing, because we have to tell the state if we're pulling out or not. So, thank you.
That's on consent agenda.
Okay, this time I'm going to move to the consent agenda. We're going to strike items B, or not strike, but remove for review. Items B, C, F, H, and L. B, C, H, excuse me, B, C, F, H,
He said in closed session, she got pull back.
and
Yeah,
And L, we'll just.
Yeah, go ahead and pull it.
And go over it.
Yeah.
Everybody get those? That suit everybody? Did I catch them all? Okay, so we can go back and readdress those after we get the rest of the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion on the rest of it. Okay, moved by Ms. Kriegel, second by Ms. Starnader. Any further questions or concerns? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. And I will take us right back up to letter B.
Okay, I didn't have a question, I just really wanted to make a comment as I was going through the purchase orders. It struck me how many things our maintenance guys have done this summer. And I've seen one of them because I went in the north side to look at their floors. And oh my goodness, having been there years ago, when you walk in, first of all, when you walk up, all the landscaping's new. Then when you walk in, the floors, it just made it an entirely different school. And I saw that purchase order, so that's what made me think of it. And then the things that were done at Wyoming and the new roof that's go, I mean, we've done so much. I just wanted to mention that and say thank you to Mr. Gomez and all of his wonderful maintenance people for everything that they do, because it's been a lot. So thank you to them.
Yay, maintenance. Mr. Bach, did you want to take a bow or anything? Oh, you're so shy.
Right on.
Good job, good job.
Anybody have anything else to add on letter B? We work through these. Okay, I'll entertain a motion on this one.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Timmerman and second by Mr. McCutcheon. Coordinator, either one, y'all pick. It's good. We got two. Any further discussion on this? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries 6-0. We're going to move to letter C. This is consideration and action to approve a memorandum of understanding between Waxahachie ISD and Southwestern Assemblies of God University regarding the use of facilities, specifically including Lumpkin Stadium, Schaefer Center, Hagee Communication Center, and Garanis Wellness Center pool during the 2021-2022 school year.
Okay, this, I don't really have a question, but I thought this was important enough to say out loud, because sometimes I get questions like, how much does it cost for us to use the pool? So I think if you'll go over it, it'll answer a lot of questions.
Thank you, Ms. Timmerman. And we can't express enough our gratitude to SAGU and the benefit I believe we mutually receive. It is a tremendous opportunity for both organizations. SAGU uses Lumpkin's football field for its games on Saturdays in the fall. We don't use Lumpkins on Saturdays in the fall, so it's perfect to allow SAGU to have that opportunity. But we waive that fee that we would typically charge if we had a playoff game or some other type use of the stadium for the benefit we receive. So during the school year, every day, as the board knows, we don't have an auditorium, but our boys and our girls at both 5A and 6A, under the leadership of Tamara Pruitt, have gone out and done extremely well. They have won district. If they haven't won district, they've been runner-up at district in a very competitive district, both 5A and 6A. Our only pool is that pool at the Garrison Wellness Center. So those kids are using that at 6 in the morning. So we have a tremendous benefit there. We pay SAGU nothing for that, other than this agreement through this MOU that we share our facilities. SAGU also lets us use the Schaefer Full Life Center for many events, Global's graduation, convocation, and other things in between. Occasionally the Partners in Education luncheon that we haven't gotten to have in the last couple of years, but when we get back together and have that Partners in Education luncheon in May, it will be in the Schaefer Full Life Center. The Hagee Center is referenced in this MOU. We don't always have a use for it each year. We occasionally will have a concert there, either our jazz band or one of our other symphonic wind ensemble concert bands, you name it. But we have used that facility before. Also, when the Waxahachie Symphony Association has events there, very regularly they will bring WISD kids in. So the district enjoys a great relationship with SAGU. We pay nothing for that pool. We pay nothing for the Schaefer Center. We pay nothing for Hagee. And I know even though we can't formally host baccalaureate, SAGU is always willing to open its doors to allow both Global and Waxahachie High to use its facilities to have baccalaureate. So it's just a tremendous relationship we have with SAGU. So this memorandum of understanding is the thing that formally recognizes that agreement, the consideration of the use of facilities for no fee from either organization.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mrs. Timmerman.
Anything else on that? On this item?
So moved.
Second.
By Ms. Timmerman, second by Mr. McCutcheon. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
I'm going to go to letter F. Consideration and possible action to approve the 2021-2022 Student Code of Conduct. Dr. Avery?
Okay. Unlike the student handbook, there were quite a few changes to the student code of conduct, and I have several of them noted, and I'll go through them and have any questions. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. There was a change on page 7 where it talks about students shall not, talked about property offenses. We added the phrase, enter without authorization district facilities that are not open for operations. This was added because this is a common practice. Should be common sense, but when the school's closed, you shouldn't access it without permission. And so we have that in there. There was some changes, and they're going to be kind of throughout, but some changes in firearms, silencers, or suppressors, and what the definition of that was. There was a law that was passed regarding that. There was also a new law passed regarding tobacco products, cigarettes, e-cigarettes, any other component, part, or accessory of an e-cigarette. We'll talk about that. But there was also a law that was passed that addressed that specifically. On page 9 of the Student Code of Conduct, the phrase, engage in academic dishonesty, which includes cheating or copying the work of another student, plagiarism, and unauthorized communication between students during an examination. That was added under the miscellaneous offenses. The students shall not. Page 13. Let me get there. I think we also had a question, asked a specific question about corporal punishment as I'm going through. Yes, ma'am. And so I think the question was, who does that? We don't have none of our schools actually practice that. We don't assign corporal punishment. We don't give corporal punishment, which is typically defined as swats or paddling. It is in our board policy, which is why it is in our student code of conduct. But as a practice, none of our schools do it right now.
Do any of our sports teams, Dr. Avery?
I do not believe so.
Okay,
But
thank you.
I'll check that.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's see. Back to page 13. Added the phrase at the bottom in the instance talking about appeals. In the instance the student was accused of conduct that merits the definition of sexual harassment as defined by Title IX, the district will comply with the applicable federal law, including the Title IX formal complaint process. See our apologies, FFH legal and local. That was something that was really instituted last summer with changes from the DOE as far as how we're supposed to approach investigations of sexual harassment. We've been following that all throughout the year. Have had a few of those investigations we've had to complete, and so that's now in our student code of conduct. Page 15, at the bottom, it is actually highlighted. The whole thing is highlighted, but really what's important is that this was removed when it's talking about returning a student to the classroom, because the above setting talks about if there's a formal removal of a student from a classroom and then how that student is returned to the classroom. And so it's highlighted there at the bottom when a student has been formally removed from class by a teacher for conduct against the teacher containing the elements of assault, aggravated assault, sexual assault, or aggravated sexual assault. They may not be returned to that teacher's class without the teacher's consent. It follows up. Well, what was actually removed was the terms murder, capital murder, criminal attempt to commit murder, or capital murder. So I think that was removed because obviously if someone's accused of those crimes, they're not going to be in a class. We're going to expel that student. So that's kind of, doesn't even necessarily need to be in there. But it was, and that's why it was removed. So kind of, it's also just tough. We have to talk about that, but things happen sometimes. Page 21, there are several references to the addition of the phrase or disabled individual was changed from children to disabled individual. So that was actually as a result of House Bill 375, which amended the offense of continuous sexual abuse of a young child or children under the Texas Penal Code 21.02 to include continuous sexual abuse of a disabled individual and amends the name of the offense to reflect that change. So basically they took out the word children after they wrote young child, they wrote young child or disabled individual. So that was the change, and that is marked several times in the Student Code of Conduct. On page 37, actually added, this is an addition, penalty group 1B is added per, make sure I say this right, Senate Bill 768, which created a new penalty group under the Texas Controlled Substance Act for fentanyl or related substance. So that's why that penalty group 1B was added, is related to fentanyl. And I'm sure if you've followed the opioid crisis, you know, and know how serious that drug is when it's abused. Okay. On page 38, the phrase added, or consumable liquid solution or other material aerosolized or vaporized during the use of an electronic cigarette or other device described by this provision. That was also related to a Senate bill from last legislative session, Senate Bill 248, that expanded the definition of an e-cigarette under the Texas Health and Safety Code 161.081 to include a consumable liquid solution other than, or other material aerosolized or vaporized during the use of an e-cigarette or device as defined by law. So that was also added on page, I said that was 38. Yeah, basically it was an expanded definition of what an e-cigarette is. Page 39. The phrase, it said any firearm, muffler, or firearm silencer defined as any device for silencing, muffling, or diminishing the report of a reportable firearm. That was added language in our code of conduct. There were some changes in the law regarding firearm silencers. House Bill 957 removed a firearm silencer from the list of prohibited weapons in the Texas Penal Code. But the bill also repeals the definition of a firearm silencer from Chapter 46 of the Texas Penal Code and adds a chapter to the Texas Government Code regarding firearm suppressor regulation. We still don't want firearm suppressors or silencers on our campuses, so we're going to say that those are not allowed. If you go to the bottom of page 39, there's also added the phrase, publishing on an internet website, including social media platform, repeated electronic communication in a manner reasonably likely to cause emotional distress, abuse, or torment to another person, unless the communications are made in connection with a matter of public concern as defined by law. And that was added by Senate Bill 530. And again, on page 41, there was a number 7 under the list of prohibited weapons. Number 7 was removed, and it was also related to the firearm silencer. And then the final one was on page 43, was one more addition to disabled individual when we were talking about change from children to disabled individual. We already spoke about that. And I believe there was a question related to persistent misbehavior or persistent violations of Class 3 offenses. I believe that was a question.
It wasn't a question, it was just going to be a comment, but I'm so glad that it's on there.
Yes, ma'am.
Because when you get kids in the classroom that don't really ever do anything like terrible, but every day, so I was just glad to see it still on there. Because there was a time when they said, no more of that's going to go to APP, so I'm glad it's on there.
Right, yes. I mean, we're obviously going to encourage folks to try to work out everything they can work out. But yeah, as you well know, Ms. Timmerman, there are some times when we have to take a stand, and that's right. Any other questions about the Student Code of Conduct that I can answer?
Thank you, Dr. Avery.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion on letter F.
So moved.
Second.
Moved to approve by Mr. McCutcheon, seconded by Mr. Rogers. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Okay, we're going to move to letter H, consideration and possible action to amend WISD's District of Innovation Plan related to group health benefits as was presented in the public hearing portion of the meeting.
I think, Ms. Krieger, didn't you have that one? And weren't all yours about were your questions answered?
Yes, I mean, I just wanted to make a statement so everybody would understand that we will be revisiting this in December.
So you just need to ask for a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve it as presented.
And is that a joint motion for H and L together? H being to amend the DOI and L being to take action pursuant to the DOI? Is that a combined motion for H and L? Because H amends the District of Innovation Plan, and then L takes action pursuant to that amendment.
Accordingly.
So the second would be for both.
Y'all good with that? They tie together? Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve letters H and L. Moved by Ms. Sarnator, seconded by Ms. Timmerman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. That's going to move us down to section 10, our action items. Letter A, it comes up first. Consideration and possible action to approve delegate and alternate to the 2021 Delegate Assembly. Jump back, I believe it's on section 618 of your board book.
Page 618. And, Mr. Chair, usually the administration makes a recommendation on every item unless it applies to board activity. So that's why there's not a recommendation.
That's, in the past, we've kind of taken this as that was willing and had the time.
Or absent from the meeting.
Or absent, Mr. Autry's
That's
not here,
right.
we could sign him up.
Oh, and if he's watching, he is.
Seriously, I think this is
Dusty.
probably, and I forgot who our alternate it was
Here
last
it
year
is.
and our delegate.
Ms. Starnader and Ms. Timmerman.
Okay, you guys still interested in this fantastic duty?
Do y'all want to switch? Yeah.
Unless somebody else wants to do it?
I will be attending the convention as leadership TASB,
that's
but
true.
I'm perfectly willing for y'all to represent us in the House of Delegates. Thank you.
Okay, I'm fine. That's fine, unless Ms. Timmerman would rather be.
I'm happy to accept.
Are you the alternate or the representative?
Alternate.
You shouldn't have asked Ms. Starnader.
So
That was a mistake.
I'm gonna present it. We have a motion on the floor to make Mrs. Starnader the delegate and Mrs. Timmerman the alternate.
Can I say something? Oh, okay, go ahead. I was just going to say, we did this last year during COVID, and it actually was pretty eye-opening. We basically took part in hearing and asking questions and offering ideas for the TASB, Texas Association of School Boards, agenda for the next year, and it's actually, it's interesting. It's just very time-consuming. But I'm happy to do it.
Okay. So we have a motion from Mr. Rogers. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Kriegel. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes 6-0.
So we're going to get to the crown.
That'll take us to action item B. This is consideration and possible action to endorse a trustee to serve on the TASB board for Region 10, Seat A. And if you'll read this,
John wants to.
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I would like to nominate Ms. Eichert, I believe, out of April ISD. I'd like to see Ellis County represented on that board, and I believe she's
Also
the
known
only.
as the Pearl.
Huh?
Also known as the Pearl.
Out of Maypearl ISD, also known as the Pearl.
Yes, Ms. Eikert is on our list, and we're encouraged to nominate somebody out of our district, so that is a wise decision. If anybody would like to second this nomination?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. McCutcheon. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? A motion carries 6-0. That's going to take us to section 11, a closed section. We're going to strike from this because we do not need it. Luckily, we were able to take care of things. So we're not even going to enter closed session, and that brings us to the last item, number 13. Before we adjourn, I would just like to say thank you to Dr. Kane for overseeing us for the last several years and trying to keep us in line.
You know, Dusty said that last month at the board meeting. I think it's going to, did y'all see Saturday Night Live on the neighbor who would not leave? You know, people are going to begin to think that's who I am. I promise this.
This is it. We have to call her back for something. So. I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Second.
Moved by Mr. McCutcheon, seconded by Ms. Creed.